Alright, hello there, my beautiful and lovely gamers. My name is Jonal. Today we're doing something that was requested last time. I did a map breakdown of how to attack and defend Anubis against Genji. It was requested to do more of these, so if you guys want to see even more of this afterwards, either on any other map or with any other heroes on similar maps and whatnot, please tell me down in the comment section. As always, like the video if you liked it and so on. It helps me kind of know what you guys want coming out from this channel. Now today we're breaking down Gibraltar, and to be honest, I'm just gonna change my caster a little bit. There won't be a stream today. Normally I would be streaming at 6 p.m. Norwegian time. However, I won't be doing that because as you may be able to hear, I'm very sick, so I'm taking my break off so I can get better soon, and I don't want to stream if I have a headache and my throat hurts and so on. It's just gonna be a mess anyway. So anyway, so we're breaking down how to attack Gibraltar here as Genji, and as you now can see on this beautiful map that I've been drawing, this is the zones that we'll be looking at as a Genji player. This can our flow jab as our offensive. The defensive is very, very similar because most of these are what we call central hubs, right? So you can see essentially hub number 1 gives control over everything inside these red dots. Hub number 2 gets everything in control over this second dot, right? So we have the first icon that we have blue box, which is here. This is supposed to be spaceship. Spaceship gives control over everything and so on. These central hubs are very important to understand, to kind of look for when you're playing Genji, because they give you a form of launching point, an area where you can easily respond, which we will be seeing later. And point number 3, which is the very one that's most difficult and hardest to kind of learn on. That's something that you guys might want to be especially particular checking out. Very first, always check that. Just stay here and spawn when you're not doing anything. If you absolutely want to swap here, you can always swap from here, right? It's fine. Just stay here and check that no one goes left side and so on. It's very nice if you keep some distance to this window. You will also not get sonic arrowed by the Hanzo, but who cares? Always watch out. We always go from this high ground and watch out that you don't get sniped right now. Okay? Then you jump here and then you take first bridge. Bridge here is only to quickly check what's here. If you can create some distance when you jump over. Right, so you kind of jump here, you kind of do the wall climb thingy, right? And so on, like this. Now there's some distance here, so the break can't come inside me, the Winston won't insta-lock me, and so on. And very important that you check over here, and make sure that you don't immediately peek this area, so that you can... I see a lot of Genji, they kind of land, and then immediately they go here, and then they don't check over here, and then they get sniped and shot at. So right, so clear here, so you know where the enemy team is, and then you play from here. If the enemy team is holding down here, then you're already in a good position, but normally we want to establish high ground control. So don't dash in here unless you're 100% sure you can get a kill. Normally a better thing is to quickly move over to here, because the people that are now inside here will now get trapped in this arch, in this door, where you can just play around, deal with them, poke them and so on, right? You can climb here, you have this box that counts as cover, you can climb up, right click, down, up, right click and so on, and play on this box here, and kind of weaken and poke them down as possible, right? If they have for some reason up here, then you also now have a good vantage point. And there's a couple of different ways to engage this. For example, if there's a hands up there, then you can immediately drop here and then up here, right? So that way you kind of play dead, you kind of get out of his LOS. So you can get up close, you can then peek, right click, deflect his arrow back, cancel your deflect, so that as soon as he shoots and you deflect it, you dash to cancel your own deflect. That way he has to charge a new arrow, and then you can right click him again and right click melee, and then he should be dead, right? Very, very simple stuff, right? Using these corner climbs here is very, very important. That on this map, and especially also playing here. And Gibraltar is a high ground control map, so we want to play a lot of that high ground control, right? So from here, poke, look for a kill, push them off this high ground here. You can play around here, you can play around this one, and this gives you also, what's good about it is that up here, if they push you, then you have 1 escape, 2 escapes, right? And then this corner, and you're backing off into a team. And if they want to run away, then they have to drop here, then run for a long period of time, and now they're in cover. So there's a really big chance that if you just play this very passively aggressive, that you can just chase their kills down. And there's also an area that a lot of team splits. So play for this control, because with this control, as seen on the beautiful drawing, you control almost everything, right? From here, you can control anything on this low ground. You can control anything on this low ground. Essentially, from here, you control majority of the high ground. You also control up here. That's more when you're defending. And then, when you have been poking, you want to take blue box. You want to play blue box, because blue box, as you can see on the drawing, gives you control over zone number 1, which gives you the control over the first part of the high ground. and it also gives you the entire control over the kind of where the real choke of this point is. The real choke is actually here. And these other areas are more for poking and so on. These are like the real choke, holding this area, holding ramp, and so on, and controlling around the checkpoint. That's normally where people start defending the most on this point. And up here, being allowed to control this does that if they're holding that there, then that's free shooting onto their main tank. The Ryan, for example, holding ramp. If they're holding here and so on, there's people on catwalks and you can easily get to them. If there are people which are stupid, which a lot of support players are, and DPSs as well, who decides to hold down there, then you have a very good access where you can come from high ground, they can't see you, and you can kind of poke towards them. Or just engage from an area where they can't see you. So if there's a Cree there, normally he would be allowed to poke you. If you come from main, right, then he's allowed to see you and shoot at you and so on. But if you come from top, then all the time he won't see you. So at that point you can kind of get in as a good surprise burst on him before the fight actually starts. So make sure to play here, and always, you know, if there's no one up here, then you can always take this to get an even better angle into that choke area, and poke. The only thing you have to be a little bit risky is if you take too much damage, then you need to be able to properly get out, right? The good thing about up here, if you get dived or something, you know, you can dash really far back to your team on offense, and really get there. And you also can really easily go for people on server from here, right? Either by just going like that or by flanking around through the more traditional linear way, I would like to say, right? So they create a lot of good angles, and the good thing is that you're always in range of targets. You can always dash, you can always respond to attacks and damage outputs and so on. Next up, second point. Second point, spaceship is the most important. Now we want to play on multiple high ground. That's one of the things that is very difficult to go through Gibraltar, because Gibraltar has so many points that you need to kind of try to control and so on. That's why I'm trying to do this understandable. So if you don't understand everything, please just go on my stream. When I stream Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays normally, from like 6 p.m. and so on. I'll try probably this weekend, since I won't stream today, to maybe stream on Thursday and so on. So please come to the stream and ask questions, and we do breakdowns on stream, or ask questions in the comment section. I will try to clarify everything. So next up is spaceship. Spaceship is very good because for spaceship you can go anywhere, kind of like blue box, where you can go everywhere without actually taking any damage. You can kind of use this to position yourself as you want to control most high grounds, right? So you can, because spaceship in itself is not a good offensive position, right? Like shooting like this, it's very clunky. You're aiming straight down and so on. It's very clunky. It's much better to have a position like this one, right, where you can kind of get a little bit easier shots off, or up here where you can kind of shoot over, so like this, or over here, right, where you can get much better shots. So this is more of a hub, as I like to call it. I call this a hub. It's kind of like I can use this to transition to the different position that I want. I can use this to move where I want, and of course I can control this so the enemy team won't get to it as well, right? So if there is a soldier up here who's free firing you as your team pushes, and you can get up to spaceship, right, then you can come from an angle that he won't see, right, and you can control him very easily. If there's a lot of people that is stacking up into this doorway, you can poke them, and you can also, you know, get up close to the door if you want to, and really, you know, cause some havoc to them. So that's what this is, right? You can also get to backlines and so on. A lot of DPSs like to play this area, and this is one of the strongest area on this map. At this point, that is this part of second, because you have such a good, you have a angle, so there's a higher chance you will hitting. You will get a bigger surface area on your opponents when you shoot from this angle, and in general, it's a very good position. It's far away, it's nice LOS, and so on. There are some decent escape routes down here. There's some cover and so on. So it's a very, very strong position to play from. And if you go from these boxes, it can be very, very easy to poke it down since the distance. Going from top here, however, you appear right in front of the guy, right? So controlling this and getting control over this is a very strong position for you to Genji. And also the fact that you're out now, right? And you can deflect here, and you can take the mini pack and so on. There's a lot of good doors, and there's a lot of good stuff to play around just because of this box, right? There's a guy there. You can shoot at him. You're gonna peek here, then you can peek up there, right? You can climb here, you can go here, you can drop back down, you can go back in here, shoot from here, then you can go from here if you want to, right? Surprise him from this angle. And so there's so many angles you can use to get here, right? General, these boxes as well can be nice to play around in from time to time. But in general, use this as kind of your central hub, and then try to control stuff like this bridge over here, which is very, very common to set up on, and this area right here, and then you should be good being able to work your way around the enemy team from almost any angle. It should be very, very hard for you not to get a proper angle on someone or something. And again, worst case scenario for a Genji player, if we can't kill the supports, if we can't kill the DPS or whatever, for some weird ass reason, just poke the tanks, get Dragon Blade, and then get value out of your Dragon Blades. That's our worst case scenario. If you are ever stuck with Genji, play for Dragon Blade. It's one of the strongest things that we can do. So this one, very, very important to play on. And it's also a very, very, to control it, it's also one of the better ones for us, because it's very difficult for enemy dive tanks to control us up here and play against us up here. And there's not that many standard DPSs, like Widowmaker of course can get here, Pharaohs can, Hansels can get up here, other Genjis, but for example, you can't get Krees or Soldiers or Tracers up here that easily. So in that case, it's also very nice for exactly that you can a lot of time, if they send up dive tanks, a lot of time you can actually poke and use them as ult generators up there, where they won't get a lot of value. And if you can zone 1 or 2 tanks as a Genji player out, you should have your Dragon Blade and you're doing huge value for your team. Next up is the third point. This third point is where hubs become a little bit obsolete and where it's very difficult. If you can see on the map that I drew, I put a question mark on this number 4. And that's because there are not really any central hubs before the payload starting getting towards this area here and so on. Because this area, from here on to like here and behind, is normally enemy territory, and it's very difficult to play inside of that. This central hub is not enemy territory unless your payload is like stuck here. And at that point, you need to play around these crates here and these crates here, and try to get up some flanking potential, maybe play up here or something, right? To kind of give that space. As soon as the payload starts moving towards here and so on, and the enemy team started setting up on this choke here, which is where they normally will be playing, unless you fuck up hard, especially in solo queue, then these areas, then you can normally play spaceships. Same in here, right? Normally you clear this high ground, and as soon as you kill this high ground, you get this high ground for free, or they are fighting on it, and then they're giving you a lot of free ult charge by you being able to poke down the tanks and pushing them back, right? So, in that point, that is a different with third point, because third point normally gets full holded here. This is where people stop the payload, and so they choke, and at that point, this is not the best flanking route. I see a lot of Genjis that want to go from here, and then up here, and then over these pipes, and then boom, go up here. And that's great if you want to pick, but the problem is a lot of people, the Ana and the Senyata and the Hanzo, whatever, can be setting up over here, so they can, if you decide to shoot this way, you can get shot in the back. And if you decide to go shooting this way, then you're fighting multiple opponents at the same time, and everyone is seeing you, and you're going to take a lot of damage. So it can be very, very difficult and risky. And of course, you can do stuff like crouching here, so it's difficult for them to see you, and so on. But I highly recommend you not playing like that. I personally like to push with the payload and play around the payload and play counterclockwise to my team. So my team is normally going to be on the left side here, right? Hugging this wall with tanks and poking and pressuring their tank. At that point, I need to keep as much distance from their tank as possible and spam shurikens into them and play around the payload. I use the payload kind of as cover. So when the payload is pushing up, I'm kind of pushing with the payload, trying again to create as steep angles and be close. Either I do that, or I like to hug this wall myself and use it kind of as like to wall climb, so I can kind of play around these corners here, be far more aggressive on them, and so on. Drop down, jump up, right, and so on, and rotate a little bit out maybe if I get a little bit too low, go back in again, climb up, and so on, so on, so on. I personally like more that playstyle where I'm playing more around and much more linear in the main group. Of course, I'm not playing directly in the main group. I'm kind of rotating between the left side of the main group and the right side of the main group to look for angles, look for picks, and so on. And then sometimes you have to go up here and slow down or push down the soldier or deal with the widow or something like that, which you can do by flanking from here and here and here. But normally you waste a lot of time and you get a little to no vision. If I go up here, I can't see if they use nades or flashbang. And especially in solo queue and so on, you won't get the call that they use a lot of these abilities. So at that point, that can be a little bit risky. The only really fun thing is, with that position, if you go up here, you can do a very, very nice blade. If you dash like this, because you get straight onto this area. That's like one of the fun things with this area. So if you can coordinate it, sometimes you can get a nice one, especially if your Ana has vision here. So you get a lot of something because she can nano you, and then you can kind of land inside the enemy team and do a lot of havoc with Dragon Blade from angle that they didn't expect. I normally take this area if we have won the points or so on, but even then I normally just like to play around these boxes again, because I can climb on them, I can be very aggressive, and then I can be very, very passive, use them as cover, and be very aggressive and very passive, and so on, and I can play kind of as I choose. I'm also a very aggressive Genji on this last point, And one of the tricks you can do, if you get very confused, which a lot of people in like Platinum and so on get in big team fights, then you can, as soon as the payload pushes up to the checkpoint and you get the checkpoint, then you can go up, or well, when there's a lot of fighting on the point, and it's like very confusing about like who's winning and who's the target. I'm not sure what's actually going on. Going up here is nice just for a couple seconds, just so you can get some nice overview over the situation. Like, okay, who is actually a threat? Who can actually go for? So you're not fighting like up close and personal, but everyone. It can be very, very difficult to kind of read the situation. So that's the entire. And I said this is a little bit of a longer video because I need to cover most spots. Defense is very, very similar. You start normally up here on something. Don't start here. Don't stand here because you don't have any escapes now. Then you need to dash here and then go here, right? So stand far close to this door, and then when they come, you spam a little bit. Notice how I'm not here. Also, I'm close to this corner, so I can dodge if I see snipers and stuff I don't want to face, right? And then quickly you go out. You don't want to do the same mistakes you do, letting the Winston leap here and then boom, and then bubble you off inside this room, right? You want to be poking a little bit, dealing some damage, and then saying, okay, cool, we're good, right? From here you can start poking. You can kind of look for stuff. Staying out of close to these boxes, staying closer to the sledge, so you can easily drop if things get heated. You can get some nice poke damage onto snipers, where you can kind of poke with them here, pretend you just ignore them, shoot at them a little bit here, and so on. If you want to heavy commit to a sniper, like for example you see that you can also do that, right? You can very easily go for snipers here, but it's a little bit risky since you are getting stuck in their back line. I'm kiting them backwards, normally kiting back to blue box, and just play blue box. You want to deny them the space, so they don't get this hub that they can get full control on. And normally it's very nice because snipers a lot of time like to sit up here. A lot of people like to run here and set up, and the Seattle like to stand here and so on. And normally, if the enemy team is all up here, there's always a support pushing the card alone. So you can normally poke a little bit, and if you then see the Seattle is alone on the card and it's starting getting to here, right, then you can be like, okay, cool. Right click, right click, right click, right dash, kill him, dash out, cool, that's a pick. And so on. And you can get a lot of damage, and again, even if you can't get a pick, because a lot of time, if they set up here, you can't go in there without a lot of time getting punished very hard. So at that point, you play up here, right, with your right clicks and your left clicks, and then you get Dragon Blade, and then you got Dragon Blade, right? And then you can rather use that Dragon Blade to mess them up. And that's how, again, we played very similarly. We try to stop the payload here, and if they push remain, then you just stand up here and shoot the tanks in the head, and kill whoever solo pushes high ground, and kill whoever gets overextended into these tunnels on low ground. That's a very nice trick, especially in Platinum when people have absolutely no game sense. And they start pushing the cut to here. You know the supports are around there. A lot of time you can just drop down to the support. A lot of time you can do that because they don't have the game sense to kind of respond to it. Worst case scenario, if you could push up here, you have to kite them backwards and kind of play up here. You can sometimes go up to catwalk yourself and kind of play from there. Kind of poke them on this high ground, right, and kind of see how I can get out of, or play on this here and then play further back towards here and so on, play over here and try to kind of get a little bit closer. But at that point, it's a lot of time better to kind of try to play up here and see if you can recontest catwalk, right? Also, one of the fun thing with catwalk, you can hide here. No, recontest blue box, my bad. And one of the fun things with blue box is you can hide here on this corner and just right click, and you covered everyone on this side can't see you. So you can kind of stand here and free fire. Defense, you're normally gonna get staggered, so normally you're not gonna be allowed to hold very far forward. If you're allowed to do it, then cool. Then you can a lot of time play here and then do these kind of like small volleys of shurikens into them, right, when they're pushing through their gates and so on, and kind of just kite them backwards. This is really nice poke, and you can a lot of time get a lot of kill opportunity, especially when they split push and push in solo, or the Zenyatta is just gonna push in a little bit, and you land some shot, boom, kill him, and then boom, you're out again, right? A lot of time you can do that from this position, right? Same on offense. If you want to play here, you can play here. And if the enemy tanks decide to set up a defense right here, for example, then you can just play on these crates here, right? Where you can kind of jump around as you please, poke a lot, and you also have a pretty nice elevation up to this point if you want to. Again, it's very, very similar. Playing up here can be nice for periods of time. Watch out for snipers that you might get hit by. And so on. In general, again, just rotate through high grounds. This is a very powerful position, since they a lot of time will be pushing up here with the tanks. A lot of time you're then right onto the support line. A lot of time you can get off a lot of good poke. But again, using this is kind of, again, your central transfer hub to all of these different points are very, very strong, right? Up here can also work. And personally, at that point, if I'm getting pushed off both of my high grounds up there and the other one, then I normally like to kind of kite around here myself and play with my team, get close to something like here, where I can kind of create a cross angle. So if my tanks are over here, you know, shielding, then the enemy tanks again will be facing that way, doing that if I'm here, I have a lot of good angles. And again, it's fine if they push me, because I have a lot of crates I can kind of use to climb around. I can climb up on these, and I can also get up here, and then from here I can then rotate around, right? So using again this as a transfer hub, then taking position like here, and then here, and then behind here, and using these kind of corners to kind of create angles to shoot from, is really, really nice. On defense, there's different ways you can do it. You can either play straight through main here on third point, and just kind of poke. Some people like to set up on these high grounds here. Personally, I'm not a fan of it, because I know how easy it can be to dismantle a hold up here if it's done, and I personally don't like the thought of me getting forced to dash here. That's a personal preference. You can do it. It has its values, as you can see, since again, if my tanks are holding that corner, the enemy team is going to get shielding towards them. So at that point, I can just stand here and shoot them, right? And I can get to their backline very easily, right? So at that point, it's really great. But I personally like to hold a bit forward here, do some poking. When they start coming, I start giving some space, right? Not letting myself getting killed. And then I start playing this corner here, where again, I can climb up here, right? Cause some havoc on them. There's this little area here you can stand on, which is real nice. Moving back up here and so on. I personally rather like to do this, where again, I'm creating a really like nasty angle, where I'm coming from like this high ground. I'm kind of floating around up here, or I'm rotating all the way up here, creating an even steeper angle on them, right? Kind of trying to create again crossfire towards the enemy team, so that when they try to kind of push somewhere, I can just create a red pen, boom. So kind of when they are trying to push in here, right, with the Reinhardt, I'm kind of sending in shots from here. I'm sending in shots from here, right? I'm coming above them and so on, and I'm creating like a lot of angles with a lot of damage and a lot of pressure that they normally wouldn't get, and their supports and DPS and whatnot can't get always that close, because again, if they get too close to me, right, for example, there's Sala here, right, I can get some good poke from him and kill him and get out without really any ease, with ease, my bad, right? And I have high ground, so it's very hard to push me again, right? If it happens that you're gonna lose this, I say you get graviton or whatever, again, playing around this is very, very powerful. You can a lot of time close. Look how much gap I'm closing now. Normally, people are holding here. If the payload's over here, a lot of people are holding over here. So coming out here, doing a wall climb over to this wall, right? You can very easily rotate a lot of space without taking really any poke. And you can poke in between these rotations, right? You can kind of go up here, get off a shuriken volley, land here, get off another shuriken volley, right? And so on. So you can use this right side here as a lot of your cover. Sometimes you have to go out from left side. That's the case, and you have this box here. You can kind of use this as your own cover. Again, creating a very steep, nice angle on the enemy team. And you have, worst case scenario, you can get up to this high ground, and you can at least cause some kind of havoc on them. Then again, of course, now you're not playing in the main group, so you're not really contesting the objective, which a lot of time you have to. So a lot of time, holding this stops the payload. You can play here on the payload with some good cover. You can kind of use, right, on the enemy team. Hopefully get a blade and so on. And that at that point, it's a lot about mechanics when it's on this third point here. Because a lot of time you're also forced as a Genji player to play the objective. There's not many options you have. Since it's like, even if you're in the backline getting 5 kills, if there's just one guy AFKing on the point, they're gonna cap it, you're gonna lose this round anyway. So yeah, again, if you like this kind of videos, tell me what heroes, tell me what maps you guys want me to cover, and I'll try to get to them. And again, a like is always appreciated, a comment on what I can improve and so on. I'm trying to make them as fast as possible and as short as possible, but a point like Gibraltar is like, I want to cover all the information in them. Check out my stream on Twitch. Normally we do stuff like this. I either play ranked games or do some scrims or do some coaching or breakdowning of maps and theory crafting and so on, which I like to do on there. So I highly recommend you guys checking that out. Besides that, guys, yeah, I hope you guys have a lovely gaming experience. Please take care of yourself and please stay positive. I love you guys, as always, very, very much. My name has been Jonal. As always, guys, please keep the enemy in your crosshair.